Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7:02 p.m. and the date is November 10, 2015. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are members Ms. Betty Hollow, Ms. Kay Towsley, Ms. Lisa Carson, and alternates are Mr. Ed Baum, who just walked in, and Ms. Ellen Salter. I am John Goldsey, the chair. Also present are zoning administrator Mr. John Paskey and secretary Mr. Paul Eschenbacher. At this time, I invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact, based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the Board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the Board to the applicant. Thank you.
I also want to add that we are joined by Ms. Joan Krasinski, our board member. And there are 3 cases on tonight's agenda. Case number 1 would be number 15-17V, the property at 29 East Carpenter Street. The second case will be 15-18V, the property at 61 Briarwood Drive. And the last case would be 15-19V, the property at 100 Columbus Road. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda, please stand. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Be seated, please. Our first case is case number 15-17V, the property at 29 East Carpenter Street. And appellant is Mr. Barry Oakes, Central Avenue, United Methodist Church. The zone is B3. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-1001, Table B, Office Street parking requirements to allow renovation to a building resulting in 5 parking spaces where a minimum of 10 parking spaces are required. And Mr. Paskey, as we were reading, I guess, through the documents, there's a place they mention conditional use and also variance. So could you clarify this for us?
Well, simply put, this is a request. They have 10 unit or 10 beds upstairs in the above the venue right now. That they have 5 parking spaces outside and 5 parking spaces inside. And what they're wishing to do is convert the inside space to classroom for a daycare, which would eliminate those, or not daycare, Sunday school, which would eliminate those 5 parking spaces inside. So the request is for the variance for 5 parking spaces for the 10 tenants upstairs.
Not now. Any questions for Mr. Paskey? Okay, now you could come to the podium and state your case. First, state your name and your address for the records.
My personal address or the address of the church?
Wherever you live.
Okay, right. Okay. My name is Barry Oakes. I live at 14595 East Scatter Ridge Road, Athens, Ohio. First, Paul, what did he say? He said we have 10 bedrooms. We only have 5 bedrooms. We have 5 beds apartment. The other 5 spaces, it's correct, we have 10 parking spaces, but the other 5 spaces are for the 1,500 square feet of commercial space that we have in front of the building.
That's correct. My apologies. I do remember
I
that.
would like for you to back up, if
Sure.
you don't mind, because I find this confusing. So, how many bedrooms upstairs?
5.
How many tenants upstairs?
5.
5.
I was mistaken on that.
Okay.
The other 5,
5.
where you're right, they're for the commercial
And you
space on the
currently
first floor.
have 5 parking spaces
Yes.
for those tenants?
Yes.
And you also now have 5 interior parking spaces in the garage?
Correct.
Which you intend to eliminate?
Correct.
Leaving you with no parking for all of the other services that you offer and
Correct.
intend to offer?
I would like to say that nobody has ever parked in the basement of the building. That it's there, it exists, there is a garage door, but it's not used.
How do you access that?
Is it an easement through the Carpenter Hall parking lot?
Yeah.
Carpenter Hall parking lot. Is that on Stimson? Is it on Park?
It's between East Carpenter and Fern. Fern is the comes up next to
Okay,
George's
all right.
Carryout.
I tromped around, but I couldn't find
Yeah,
it. Okay.
the Carpenter Hall has, I don't know how many spaces parking lot, but their parking lot is on top of the easement, and our access to the garage door would be through their parking lot.
Okay, so that's down on Fern Street?
It's above Fern, it's below Carpenter.
Okay.
Do you know where the parking lot is to the rear of Carpenter Hall?
Well, I don't really, because I walked to the back of the building.
If you walk to the back of the building, you saw that.
Okay.
If you walk to the back of their building, and there's a garage door right there, and then there's
Well,
two
you would have to
houses
be
there.
way
There's
down
two houses
below
there,
it.
and there's
I think
two older
so.
houses right there. It's the alley that kind of continues between the two older houses and the back
You
of
mean the
their
steps that
building.
go down?
No, it's up on. It's up on. It's not at Fern Alley level. It's elevated. The best thing I can say is if any of you were at the Halloween parade, that's where they came out.
Yeah, so Honey for the Heart
All right,
uses
so-
our building to construct their floats. And the floats were stored in this room that we're talking about.
Okay, all right. So I couldn't find it, but I assume it does exist. Okay.
So what we would like to do, in short, is we would like to renovate this basement area into Sunday school rooms, eliminating those 5 parking spaces that have never been used anyway, so that we can use the Sunday school rooms for church purposes, the same as what is the first floor directly above that area, which is our Sunday worship area behind the old Athens Automotive.
Okay, for which you now have no parking.
Pardon?
You now have no parking for the Sunday school and other operations in the building.
We have 5 spaces for the apartments.
Okay, so you don't have any parking for the other activities.
Well, in the original permit in 2011, we got permission from the Masonic Hall, or Masonic Auditorium, on Sunday mornings to park behind their building, and also the Athens County Historical Society.
Okay, and is that registered with the zoning?
Yeah, it's on the paperwork, yeah.
Okay.
And like I was saying, in 4, almost 5 years, there's been no complaints that we're aware of.
Okay.
You also mentioned that those 5 spaces never been used, but the thing is that, down the road, a different business goes in there and they may need those spaces. So the variance just goes with the property forever.
Right.
But is it conditional use? Conditional
This is a variance.
Yeah, they're asking for
What
the...
happens to the parking spaces, the Historical Society, when they move?
Good question.
We never use them. There's so much on-street parking.
You need to come to the podium. Yeah, okay.
The parking for the Sunday worship service is mostly on the street. There's plenty of street parking. A good number, because the ministry of our church, we have a large ministry to the university, and so a large number of the people that come to worship are college students who walk.
I think what Mr. Gulsey said just a minute ago is that the variance goes with the property,
Right.
not with the use of the property.
Oh, okay. So
Therefore-
I was in error when
Yeah.
I wrote conditional use?
Okay, so it just means that if you get a variance, it's for the building.
Right.
So if the ministry leaves and some other entity takes over the building, then they have a variance for which they may, there may be a serious need for parking because they're not a Sunday operation. So I think that's one of the considerations that we have to think about.
Are you proposing that maybe we should consider a
I don't see
conditional
how a
use
conditional use changes anything.
for as long
Does
as
it?
this
Does it
business?
change
It's
anything?
a church.
What?
That's
Or
what
as long as the
there
church
are.
is-
I'm trying to find that there's exemptions for church parking in our code.
Yes, because it's true,
So-
the Methodist Church and the Presbyterian Church use the parking garage or the street, and so do several other churches, I think. The Christian Church has some parking.
uses the street.
Yeah, so typically that's not unusual. I guess my concern is if the use changes.
Well, there are also other businesses in the facility, if I'm not mistaken, and other uses, so, such as Halloween.
Right.
They did Honey for the Heart. There were a lot of people who came from out of town. I'm not really sure where they parked. I was there for a while. So,
Well,
not that they would be obligated to park in your parking places, but
Well, and Athens Works is a business
absolutely on the first
which
floor.
said it's a business that purports to have all of its users riding bicycles or walking. Again, I'm not sure exactly how that came about. Maybe I was asleep when that happened. Because again, that is very useful if people will walk and ride their bikes.
Absolutely.
But again, if that little business goes, then what?
Well, exactly. That being the issue, we can't just grant it to a particular business. We're granting it to the structure, and if it has such a variance and it changes use, there could be problems
Right.
in terms of parking. So I guess the 10 spaces are based, 5 for the upstairs apartments, correct? And then the other 5 are based on the square footage of the first floor?
Of the commercial area of the first
The
floor.
Commercial
area.
space on the first floor, not the church part.
Right.
The church part received a variance years ago through here to use the Masonic Temple parking area and et cetera, because the parking requirements for a church is 1 for each 8 seats in an auditorium, or 1 for each 17 classroom seats, which is ever greater. So the church is not the issue here.
Okay, so it's just this newly to be renovated space.
Well, and this newly to be renovated space really would fall kind of under the requirement of the church, because it's the use of the church, because it does state, that it's churches and other places of worship and Sunday school buildings. So,
Can you read that whole
well,
thing?
I'm just saying that it's all classified together in our R1 section, but I'm just saying, so the Sunday school part would fall in under the church. So it per se does not need the parking,
So there's
other
no
than what they
additional
already have, with the
Okay.
church.
square footage
Which is the
being
same.
added.
The square footage,
Is the very front building,
which needed
the
5
first-
spaces.
the front room, and then the second building, second room, the large room behind it would be the square footage that we're talking about, the 5 parking spaces are required for.
No, the 5 parking spaces are required for the commercial space that is currently there. What do you have in there now?
Athens Works.
Athens Works.
Okay, Athens Works is in that space. So those 5 spaces that they're looking for the variance for are for them, in essence. And then the 5 spaces outside are for the tenants upstairs, which
Okay, but they
those would
already have
remain.
those.
What's that?
They have those.
Those would remain. So we're not looking at changing the tenant parking. We're looking to eliminate the parking requirement for the commercial space that is already there.
Which is Athens Works.
Correct.
And the 5 required is based on square
Square
footage?
footage, that is correct.
That says how many per 100?
It's 1 for each 8 seats in an auditorium, or 1 for each 17 classroom seats, whichever is greater.
So what is the square footage of Athens Works?
Of what?
Athens Works, the commercial space we're talking about.
1,500 square feet.
No. That part is based on 1 per 300, because that's a business bank or professional office, which is 1 per 300. So that part is based on 1 per 300.
Okay, so
1,500 square foot, so that's why they're required 5 spaces for that area.
Okay, Mr. Rojas, please continue.
We would like to point out that, we feel our church is a very positive influence in that location. We feel that we are appealing to college students, we're appealing to families, and that the renovation of the Sunday school rooms allows us to do even more to make it even more family friendly. And it's not a detriment to anybody. It's not a detriment to the neighbors. We're not doing anything with our footprint. The building stays the same. It's just a current area that's being used for storage will be used for classrooms and a meeting room and restrooms. Athens Works is a a very nice partner for us. They have that 1,500 square feet. They have Mr. Ben Lockman is the head of it, and he's born in Athens City, and so he's a lifetime Athens resident. And they have about 14 different people that use that business. I'm not the best one to explain what Athens Works does, but they are a co-working facility where entrepreneurs who often work from home on distance, virtual communication, whatever. If they have a need for a meeting space or to come in to use the computers or whatever they have at Athens Works, they pay the company the number of days per month that they work in that. So we feel that is a very good thing for the community, and we're just saying we see a lot of good and very little bad, other than, yeah, you're right. I mean, we're taking out 5 parking spaces that theoretically are in our basement.
Okay, once again, I need to be sure that I know what we're talking about. According to Mr. Paskey, the classrooms, the renovation is not in question.
Correct.
No.
We're only talking about the commercial space.
Correct. The parking space is for the commercial space.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the commercial space, actually, for right now, maybe it's not been utilized, but, our concern is that maybe next year or maybe 5 years from now it will be. So.
Right. I mean, before Athens Works, it was Inhale Yoga, and they didn't use the parking spaces either.
Yeah, we understand.
But again, I admire the idea of having a business that's fluid like that with a lot of users, and presumably they're progressive enough to walk, to ride their bikes, to not need parking. But that's not necessarily how the building will remain. And I don't know that we allow other commercial operations with 1,500 square feet to say, you don't have to have parking.
Right.
Although I'm very sympathetic, I don't know how to deal with that. Okay.
I guess I'd like to ask if you have made an effort or thought about making an effort to secure 5 parking places off-site.
That would be economically prohibitive. We have not attempted that. I've been a resident of Athens for 37 years. I know what parking is. And so,
I know. How about at the Masonic Lodge? I mean, they don't seem to be very busy or have a lot of activities there. Would they be willing to secure for...
We could pursue that. We've not done that yet.
Okay, but that would seem the most likely, and you already have a relationship with them. And I agree with Ms. Hollow, and I admire all the things that go on there. The difficulty that we have as a board is that we're giving this to the property, and that makes it so difficult, and because you know the parking situation.
Right.
Any other questions for the appellant?
I have one final comment,
Sure.
which is to say this as respectfully as I can, but we need the Sunday school space. So if it's a choice between Sunday school space and Athens Works, we might have to choose with the Sunday school space. Because if Athens Works is no longer a commercial place where they're at, then it falls under all the church. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, you may have a chance, to come back again if there's any rebuttal. So, is there anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of this proposal? Yes, please come to the podium. State your name and your address and your case.
I'm Ben Lockman. I reside at 101 South May Avenue in Athens, and am one of the founding members of Athens Works that currently resides in the commercial space. Michael Bloom is also here in support as well. Over the past 3 years, we've been in the space, have used it as a collaborative workspace. And while there have been these 5 spaces in the basement, the reality is that they are neither particularly appealing to use nor easy to use. They aren't materially impacting our space in any way, either in a positive or negative way. So their existence is pretty much moot. It doesn't. They're not. They're there on paper. They're not. Neither us nor the previous business in Hale used them because of. They're not an appealing or easy to access space. Additionally, in the area of Carpenter and Grosvenor, there's a lot of not off-street, but on-street parking that is unmetered as well. So our people do park in vicinity of the space all the time, and unlike maybe Court Street, where all the near close-in parking is metered and in high demand, where we are isn't. It's just slightly different.
I put money in a meter directly outside of your space today.
Yeah, there's a meter directly in front of us, and it's actually
and
great.
And then there's several others a little farther west on the street.
Just farther west, yes. Mm-hmm. Farther east, it's unmetered, and all the way up Grosvenor is also unmetered as well.
And pretty heavily parked.
Oh, not in my experience over the past 3 years. Whenever
I have more experience than you.
That very well may be true, but I just was talking to a member today who said, "I love parking here because I can turn a corner and park on Grosvenor anytime I want." And I was somewhat surprised by that because
me too.
But that's what he said. I think that's pretty much it. It's being in that location is really great for Athens Works. The church has been able to sponsor us and give us a really great deal as far as rent goes, and probably an off-site parking arrangement might impact that arrangement quite materially.
So how long do you think you're going to be there for? The next 50 years or 100 years or so?
300. 300. We've grown every year for the past 3 years, and so I hope that we're there for
well, if you grow any more, then you probably need to find a bigger place, right?
I would say we can at least double in size from where we are. I don't. Our rate has been, due to the small town rural nature, has been fairly slow, but we have been growing slowly. So maybe we'll hit 30 members someday.
Okay.
So Ben, a quick question. Nobody's using the space in the basement that is the 5 parking places, and that's pretty obvious. I walked back through. There have been no tire tracks coming into the garage. But what you're telling me, and so now this is a real conundrum, that not everybody rides a bike. Some people do park, and they park on Grosvenor. Now we're talking about people parking off-site in the R1 neighborhoods where we have a parking problem. So then how do we solve this problem? I mean, this is, to me, is like hitting me because on my street, we have the same situation. People coming up there, parking, walking away. I come home, there's no place to park. And so, do you understand my dilemma?
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens throughout part of any part near the B3 zone, right? Like from Donkey, from anywhere else.
Well, not so much in the Donkey because
I always park on High Street where it's unmetered because you don't have to pay a meter.
Right, but that's not an R1 residential neighborhood. And most of those places have off-street parking. And granted, the parking does get difficult there. So as much as I'm so much in favor of what you're doing, on the other hand, then when the cars do creep up into the residential neighborhoods where parking is really tight because a lot of those properties don't have off-street parking. And then if we give you the variance and if you double in size, we're just encouraging this situation even more. The truth of the matter is that not everybody rides a bike, that some people do park on the streets, and And that is...
Yeah, I would say we're predominantly, very predominantly walking or biking.
Right.
For sure.
I would think that, but
Yeah.
still, we have... At least you were open about saying that. You know how many people come here and say, oh, no, nobody ever drives a car. It's like,
Nobody ever drives a car.
so anyways...
Okay.
I have a question, but
Sure.
sort of more like a comment. You do understand that if the property is sold,
Yeah.
and then turned into apartments or something, then which is a real possibility in that part of town.
Would that be a change of use, correct, if it was turned into apartments?
First of all, you couldn't put apartments within that space because it'd be first floor residential and a B3.
Right.
Right.
And the other spaces you were talking about, the donkey and everything's in a B2D. Parking
Right,
is
there.
not required
Right. I mean,
for businesses on the first floor, or any floor for that matter.
Any other questions? Okay, you may be seated. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this variance? Anyone who wishes to speak in general comment? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Okay. Please just state your name and your address.
My name is Joe Kraus. My address is 10 Marietta. I am the owner of 30 East Carpenter, across the street from me. I have concerns in that I already have parking issues for my 2 lots on Grosvenor and Carpenter as far as usage and towing. I have issues on Saturdays and Sundays as far as cars having to be towed out of there, and my concern is just eliminating the 5 spaces, as Ms. Kransky said. If you eliminate the 5 spaces, even though they're not being used, you're putting it out there more. And my concern as a landlord, already with the towing situation that we have with the new laws, is that it's just going to make it harder on my residents. And so, whereas I am sympathetic to them as far as the usage of the space, which I am, is an honorable enough thing, my concern is, as you've already voiced, that the parking is a real problem in this area, and I'm one of the few that have 68 spaces there that I think people that will use more, I guess, will try to park in there, because I'm directly across the street from the church. And so I am opposed to it just because I think, I don't know how to say it, like, there's already a parking problem, as you guys have said, and I just I'm nervous speaking in front of people. I apologize. I'm just worried about the usage aspect of what's going to happen on the street with the parking, as you guys have already voiced. I'm just basically just in support of that, and that's really it. I mean, I've had no issues with them. I have had no issues with the Inhale Yoga or the Athens Works people. I just usually have kids that are, sneaking in there on weekends parking. But if you limit the amount of spaces that are there with the people that are coming, and no offense, I think if they're building a Sunday school room, the usage is going to be more. Maybe eventually it's an after-school program. Maybe it's more than just Sunday school usage. And with the more people coming around and the less spaces available, then I'm going to have issues in my parking lot. And as I said, there are a lot of serious issues with towing now. There's only one company that is now towing. Curtis is the only one, and I have, 5 lots that they tow from. And it's become a serious problem since the spring of getting people out. And somebody could literally be in a spot for a day that's parked illegally before it's towed. And just my concern is, as I've said, where the more people in the area of usage and the less spaces, people like me are going to have issues. And I already have problems getting people out of spaces that are parked illegally anyway now.
You don't happen to have extra 5 spaces in your lot, do you?
I have 68 spaces. I would do anything. I would do anything for my. Well, no. 20 are deed restricted to the overhang on the yard.
Just in case they are interested.
Yes, they have not approached me. I would listen if that was something that they needed to do. Sure. Like I said, I am sympathetic to them. I'm just voicing my concern over what you've already said.
Right. Any questions for the witness?
It changes things, and I'm going to mess it up, and an easier solution may be for you guys to request the variance and table it tonight or whatever, and request the variance to ask for off-site parking for your residential units across the street, which therefore you can pass the buck, and then use the on-site parking for your business space.
The other thing that actually, when I said conditional use, I meant, and Betty kind of mentioned in here, using a temporary use. Would that be an option?
I don't think that's an option at all, really.
That's what you wrote in here.
I didn't write that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was passed around from here.
Because again, if you say that the temporary use is going to this commercial space, that really is a privilege to give that to them when other businesses are not allowed to have 1,500 square feet in use.
Yeah, okay,
and
but it's
no
not permanent.
parking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, year, 2 years, how long is permanent? Other people are not allowed to do that.
We
And
look at each case, individually.
Yes, I know, but in my opinion,
You may be
this is a place
seated.
where it would be
Yeah.
too much of a privilege to grant.
Okay. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition? You have a chance to come and have the last word. You don't have to, but you have the chance.
We were just discussing if what Mr. Kresge said is perhaps better for us to do, to ask you to table it tonight and then come back with the strategy that he suggests, that we find off-street parking for our tenants and use the lot for the commercial space.
Do we need to do a
need a
vote
motion.
and just...
A new application, or can we change it?
Cost money. Cost money.
We just have to
They can
vote to
withdraw
table
this
it.
and
Withdraw.
new one, because it would be a change.
Yeah, and then have to be advertised again, so.
Well, that's no problem. If the case is heard again, I always advertise.
Right, sure. So I think, and that gives you a chance to talk to Joe and find out, if it works for you. Nothing you can decide right this minute, I'm sure. So,
Do we have a motion to table this case?
So moved.
Second.
if that's what the applicant wishes.
Are we sure that's what?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
yes,
What
yes.
it is.
So we need to vote?
Okay, all in favor of table in this case, raise your hands. Okay, thank you. These two don't vote tonight because they're alternates, so otherwise they're not opposing.
See you again.
See you next month. Okay, let's go to case number 2. It's case number 15-18V, property at 61 Briarwood Drive, and Drury and Nancy McDaniel are the appellants. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 2303-14 to allow construction of a fence in the front setback where the fence is not permitted.
Clearly stated, the gentleman put a fence in the front yard. He had a row of bushes there, and I think he can speak more to that. It is on his property in the front yard setback. We did verify it. It is not in the right of way, so it's not a revocable license situation. It is a variance situation.
And just to be clear, if it's less than 6 feet, that's okay, but if it's more than 6 feet, then we need to discuss.
In height,
In height, yes.
it's not more than 6 foot in height.
Well, some of the deers have been jumping 4 or 5 feet now, so.
So you're saying that the fence is on the property and not in the city right away?
That is correct. We went out and checked the right of way width, and it is not in the right of way.
But it is in front of the house.
It is in front of the house. And so it's in the front setback, and fences are not allowed to be in the front setback unless,
For view,
or behind the front edge of the house.
for view.
And this is for R1, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And they're not allowed to be in the front setback primarily because of aesthetics or
Why it was put in there, though, and
viewability?
I couldn't answer that question for you. It's been in there.
Also, the old thing of like fire safety, if there are fences up in front of houses, it makes it harder to get equipment in and stuff like that.
Okay, the appellant, would you please approach the podium and state your name and address, please?
I'm Drew McDaniel, 61 Briarwood Drive.
And?
When I purchased the property in 1990, there was a row of shrubs along the street. And those shrubs had been in place since the house was built in 1970. And about 10 years ago, during a harsh winter, the deer began eating the shrubs as high as they could reach, which was perhaps about 5 feet. It rendered the shrubs pretty useless and ugly. And so for several years, I pondered what to do about it. One of my neighbors has a picket fence, which is along the street, and so it inspired me to think of that as a substitute for the shrubs, because I live on a deer path, and they eat everything I plant. And so planting new shrubs was not feasible. And so that's why I thought of the fence. And actually, there is another fence on Briarwood, which is even closer to the street than the fence that I put up, and that is at 3 Briarwood. It's a rail fence. It's not a picket fence, but it's even closer. So it seems to me that it's in keeping with the neighborhood aesthetic and not out of step at all with what the neighborhood had in the way of fences. The second point I would like to make is that it actually enhanced the attractiveness of the neighborhood. I've had several neighbors compliment me on unsolicited compliments on how it made the property more attractive. I can't think of any substitute for a fence for the shrub, to replace the shrubs, given the deer population in our neighborhood.
Mr. McDaniel, your concern is mostly for your garden, right? For whatever you plant?
For that hillside, yes.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I have a severe hearing loss, so you really have to speak up.
Is there any way that you could put a fence maybe around the garden that you have for your planting so that would keep the deer away?
Impossible, because it would, the deer can jump a 6 to 8 foot fence. I mean, that would be impossible. And really, the purpose of the fence is aesthetic rather than necessarily to keep deer out.
Well, most of your argument was for your plants and for garden and so forth. That's what most of your argument is in here.
No, I mean, the argument I was making is that shrubs are not, I can't replace the shrubs. It's not about a garden, it's that I can't.
Okay, we understand that part.
So maybe you don't need anything.
Well, that side of the house isn't very attractive, and it's a way of making the property attractive.
Well,
so you're saying that this is just for cosmetic, for
aesthetic purposes primarily.
Not for privacy at all?
No.
Privacy a bit, yes. Because that part of the house is where the master bedroom is located, and that's where the master bathroom is located.
But isn't the fence right up on the street, and the house itself sits well below the street?
It is below the street, yes. The fence is not exactly up against the street.
Pretty much.
When I came around there exactly before it came on the board, it shows.
Before it came to us, I came around that curve and thought, my goodness, I'm going to run into this fence.
I beg your pardon? I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Before we got this on the board, I was driving on Briarwood and was
Yeah.
very surprised to see that fence so close to the street.
It's 3.5 feet from the street edge.
Okay.
Any questions? No. You may be seated for now, please. Is there anyone who would like to speak in the favor of this variance? Yes, please come to the podium.
Okay, thanks. So I'm Jan Eldridge. I live on Bates Road in Athens,
Okay.
and I helped build the fence. And it's a dangerous spot in Athens. They should maybe have a guardrail. Be better, is my opinion, because you do come around. It's always dangerous. People are always walking their dogs. I think the city might want to look at something. Appreciate the fence for what it does. It says, stay the heck off it, be careful right here. People slow down a lot better now. There's room to get off the street on the grass between the fence. It's as wide as any sidewalk in Athens, and it's nicely mowed. So anybody with a dog can get out of the way when the traffic comes racing around there. There's a hydrant there's a steep cliff. There's almost a cliff there. Right by the fire hydrant there. And, again, that probably could use a what's it called, a guardrail, some sort. I mentioned that to the city, the street director. So we talked about it. He said that'll probably never happen. And that's my opinion. Something should be done there.
So do
We
you
did the
think
best
that,
we could. We did all we could. What's that?
do you think the fence would prevent a car from going down?
Oh,
the
no,
hill?
but it says, I'm white, stay the heck back away from me. Don't run over the curb and down into that steep ravine. It's a nice looking fence. And like you said, mainly the shrubs were being eaten away, so they weren't. And again, that was hiding, people could be lost in the shadows right there. Now it's a bright open space. There's no nasty old shrubs there. It's not a dark old place like it used to be. So I think it's a big improvement. And I was thinking, well, maybe the variance should be 2.5 feet, not 25 feet from the road, because what good is it way the heck down the hill? It's not going to do anything. A fence has a different purpose. So maybe it was a typo.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I did not get the chance to go see this property. Is the fence already there?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So, is there anyone else who would like to speak on in favor of this variance, or in general commentary, or in opposition? Okay, we close the discussion from the floor.
Good. Would it be okay to ask the appellant to come back so that I can ask him a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Could you come back to the Mr.
McDaniels.
Mr. McDaniels?
Let's speak loud, please.
Yeah. I just wondered if this question he raised about safety and traffic, if you could address that, if that was any part of your wishing to have a fence there?
I suppose, yes, but it was less of a consideration for me than the aesthetic and the privacy afforded by the shrubs and now by the fence.
So you were accustomed, since you moved into that home, you've been accustomed to having a barrier there, and then that was not workable after the shrubs were destroyed?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Paskey, can the shrubs be replaced by non-deer eating shrubs?
Well, I don't know what a non-deer eating shrub is. But yes, the shrub can be planted there. The shrub in the front setback is legal.
It's legal or illegal?
Sure.
Is legal.
It's legal.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone wants to make a motion?
Yes. We're not going to discuss it at all?
Well, I asked if you want to discuss it.
Well, yeah, I want to discuss it.
Okay.
I'm sympathetic to the fact that the shrubs were there and that he's replaced with a fence, a barrier that was already there when he purchased the property. I think I had another thing, but I don't remember it anymore.
Well, I think living fences are very different from non-living fences, and obviously in the code differentiates because you can have shrubs as living fences, but actual structure is what is prohibited.
But when the code was written, there were not as many deer.
Well, but I have plenty of shrubs in my yard that deer do not eat, and they eat many, many things in my yard. So there are various yews, not all yews, because they do eat some people's yews, but I have several bushes that I would like them to eat. Get rid of. And those are the ones that they really don't want to play around with, right? So,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Again, while I'm sympathetic to the problem of deer eating all kinds of things, we have a larger problem, and that is in the city of Athens, that the city council, for whatever reasons, has determined that you shouldn't have fences in the front yard. And if there is a problem now that we need fences for aesthetic purposes or for deer or anything else, then I think your proper venue is to go back to city council and ask them to change the code.
Good point.
Do we know what the purpose of the code is for that?
Well, I thought that one explanation was valid in that
Access?
you would get equipment in there. I mean, but I mean, at this point, we're looking at a specific site that's on a hillside, but many of those houses on the lower side of Briarwood are down, and some of them are just grassy knolls. It appears to work very well.
I suggest we go through the findings, then maybe we can discuss more. Exceptional circumstances.
We don't have a variance yet.
We have an emotion? Okay.
I move that we grant a variance from section ACC 230314 to allow construction of a fence in the front setback where a fence is not permitted.
Second.
Did you say where?
A fence is...
Did you say the address?
Well, it's a Briarwood Drive.
Sorry.
Okay, exceptional circumstances. Are there exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone? There aren't.
No.
Practical difficulty and undue hardship. I don't see any.
Right, other
See
people
any-
have deer
Yeah.
eating plants in their yard.
Preservation of equal property rights. Granting this variance is going to grant more privilege to this property than the other properties in the same zone and vicinity.
I would say so.
Minimum variance, is this a minimum variance?
No.
No.
It's minimal in the sense that we don't usually be asked to address aesthetic issues, typically.
Absence of detriment. I don't think there is any detriment because of this. And not of a general nature. No. Okay, the voting members, please, we get a shout out of all the members voting tonight. All in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, I'm sorry you don't have the variance. 4-1. And we are going to go to our last case, which is case number 15-19B. The property is at 100 Columbus Road. Reuse Industries is the appellant. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 230310 to allow 4 accessory structures on one lot where a maximum of 2 accessory structures are allowed. And Mr. Paskey, my question is the 40 feet shipping containers, these are not permanent structures, are they?
Most sheds aren't, accessory structures. If it was a low shed or something like that, same on a house, you have a shed, so we look at them just as accessory structures. It's what we've been considering those, any low shed, any of these canopies that you see people putting up to put their cars under. Okay. None of them have foundations, but we're still considering them accessory structures.
I saw a couple of them popped up behind the Walmart. So is that the same kind of a structure?
Yes, I think. I haven't seen what you're talking about.
This is not something that the people go inside, right? It's just for storage. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, you need to ask them that.
Any questions for Mr. Paskey? Well, you may come to the podium and we have some questions for you.
You could pass them over. Where did you get that?
Please state your name and your address.
The current.
Thank you. My name is Zachary Hall. I'm the Executive Director of Reuse Industries, which is at 100 Columbus Road. Mm-hmm. You don't need my personal address, do you?
That's good enough.
Okay. So when I used to be a city planner, we'd put the most controversial issues at the end of the agenda. So I hope that's not the case tonight. Our position or our need is pretty clear. We're renters there. Our landlord took away about 2,000 square feet of warehouse space that we used to use as part of our retail operations, which is what earns us most of our money to support our community programs. Beginning of 2014, he chose to turn that space into storage units.
Could you describe the space that you're talking about that was taken away?
Yes. So the 100 Columbus Road property is actually pretty complex. You need to kind of see a site plan. And I did actually
I was there this afternoon.
Submit a version of that. Well, so we occupy the building that fronts on Columbus Road. Mm-hmm. There's kind of a small connecting hallway piece from that building which connects to the much larger facility fronting on the river, essentially.
Which you still have access to.
No, we don't, because our landlord took that away from us.
Okay, so all this back space is gone?
Yes, and we never had access to most of that anyway.
Okay.
The original site of Lowe's in this town was that site. It occupied a much larger footprint than we currently do. So that back building, we only occupied a portion of that, 2,000 square feet, which our landlord has chosen to turn into storage units. So you can imagine as a retail business operating in a certain footprint with certain operational approaches and uses of square footage, we face the challenge of essentially reorganizing our entire retail business, which we continue to do, now going into about 18 months of doing that. Successfully, by the way. We've actually been able to earn more money in less space somehow. But still, we struggle. And the issue in our business, which is if you're dealing with used, reused goods, your margins at the end of the day are going to be very narrow. So the essential rule in our business is the more times you have to touch or move an item, the worse it is for you. And so that is our issue. We've been moving stuff around constantly. Having additional space to replace a portion of the space which we have lost is vital to make not only our retail business work, but to make the community benefiting programs we do function. As an example, the 2 40-foot shipping containers we now have on the property were essential in order for us to open a community tool lending library, which we did open about a month ago. It's similar to the Athens Works folks you talked to before. It's membership-based. We now have over 500 tools that we provide to members of the tool library. They can pay an annual membership and borrow those tools just like a book library and return them. That simply would not have been possible in the absence of those shipping containers, which of course wasn't the original plan. But I have raised money, close to $100,000, to launch this tool library just before our landlord took that warehouse away from us, which is where we had planned to do this. So we are endeavoring to place 2 more shipping containers on the site, one of which we've already purchased and is located at our other location on Route 50 near Albany, so that we can continue operating our business in the way that makes sense. And so the issue basically is that, for those of you who don't understand it, we manage donated materials. About 12 million pounds of those over the last 20 years. It's very unpredictable. We're not like a Walmart where we are saying we need to order 10 widgets because 10 spaces for widgets on a retail floor were just vacated. We never know what's coming in the door. And the catch-22 we have now is that because we have been so successful in the things we're doing to benefit the community, our donation volume is growing rapidly, just at the time the space we have available has shrunk. So that is our issue. We simply do not right now have enough space to operate our business in a reasonable manner, and are looking to have your approval to place 2 more 40-foot shipping containers on the site. Our landlord, who has co-signed our application for this variance, obviously through that co-signing is in support of this. Our only adjacent neighbor who could be in any way affected by this in terms of site access, aesthetically, otherwise, also is a tenant to our landlord. So our landlord of our adjacent property is fine with it. That the occupant of that property is also fine with it. Stepping back from our needs in terms of what might be the impacts of this on the area, our adjacent property owners, what people traveling down Columbus Road might see, I frankly don't see any negative impacts in any possible way resulting from this. The 2 shipping containers we currently have on the site are partially visible from Columbus Road, but are certainly not any more unsightly than a lot of other things along Columbus Road. One of the shipping containers we are proposing to add to this site would be blocked in terms of visibility from Columbus Road by the existing containers, and the other would be placed entirely in the rear of the portion of that property that we occupy. It would not be visible at all from Columbus Road. There is plenty of space in the asphalted area on that side of our building, so that adding the shipping containers as we propose and as we've shown on our site plan does not materially change any issue around vehicular access for normal vehicles, for public safety vehicles, for any kind of scenario I can imagine. And then lastly, I would presume there's an issue, a concern you may have about this variance applying to the property and not the user. And I get that. And I really don't know what tools are at your disposal for that. In my previous job in this arena in a different locale, I'm pretty sure we had the ability to apply sunset provisions to variances of this nature. And I don't know whether that's in your toolbox, but it certainly would be a very clear solution. Otherwise, I really don't know what the risk would be of this variance going with this property into the future in a scenario where we weren't there. Now, we have purchased these containers. If we leave the property, we're taking them with us. But the variance approval for for 4 containers instead of 2 would still apply to this property. I don't know what another property owner would do with that.
Well, actually, the variance would be for 4 accessory buildings, so the next owner, the next user may put 4 buildings in there, not temporary carriers like that you have. They just may choose to have 4 buildings in there.
Sure.
4 accessory buildings.
I can see that, although I also see that there's a whole other range of provisions. Square footage requirements, setback requirements. It's not as if someone could just go ahead and build on that property without any constraints, nor can I imagine what the heck they would build within those constraints that would be materially different or worse than what we're proposing.
So, would you expect these structures to be here indefinitely? I mean, as long as you're there?
They will be there as long as we're there. Like I said,
this could go on for years if you were there. You know, they would be there.
Yes, as long as we are there, I would assume the containers would be there. Then again, I don't know what negative impact there would be of that being the case.
Yes.
I go back to John's question. Since we're not specifying that these be shipping containers, we're simply saying accessory buildings, that the succeeding property owner or user could almost put anything in there that would classify as an accessory building. So my question is there a technique, either Betty or John, that would tie the variance to the current property use?
We can add a condition.
Right after he was speaking, I wrote down to Paul, I said, can this be granted only for them and only as long as they exist?
Yeah, so we can just
And
add that
the
as
answer to that is
a
no.
condition to the
And I think
variance.
the answer to that is no.
We can't? We have done it
And I understand what you're saying, in other towns and other communities probably do have maybe
We
something.
have done
there.
that in the past, John. We have added conditions to the variance.
For as long as that owner had the property.
Well, the fact that they own these, and if they leave, they will be leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely serves to our advantage. And then the other side is, correct me if I'm wrong, if the building sits vacant for a year, it loses its variance.
Yes.
But I don't
So
know why we can't add a
there's a very good
condition.
chance, that with that location, if they were to move out of there, that somebody would have to come in with the same type of use, being at a retail like that, within a year after they were to move out. So I know it's no one knows what the future beholds, but I don't know if you can put in.
In the past, we have added conditions to variances, saying such things as, this may be used in this way as long as the current use is upheld.
Current use is upheld, exactly. But if they were to move out and another retail comes in, it's still the same use.
Yes, exactly.
So that means that person would be able to build some sort of a structure or put in 4
No,
themselves.
the condition would say that you would only have 4 containers as long as a business came that had the same business
That's
plan.
going to be the case anyways, because if it's a change of use, then they're going to come back, they got to go through a bunch of other parameters, but it is a B2, B3,
3.
B3 over there.
So, Joe, when you were defining accessory structures, and I'm looking at the definitions, right? It would limit what could be placed on this property in the future if the variance was passed as is, because it says that a use or structure subordinate to the principal use of the building or to the principal use of the land, which is located in the same lot, serving a purpose customarily incidental to the use of the principal building or land. And it also says an accessory building is not intended to be used as a dwelling. So these are not permanent structures? Isn't that what you said?
They're not permanent structures.
They're not permanent. So we're talking about giving a variance to something that is not permanent. So they couldn't exactly build
No, it is permanent. Once we give the variance,
Right,
then
but the structures.
For an accessory structure?
Yes.
But not for an additional permanent structure?
No.
Okay.
They could be permanent.
Could be permanent,
It could be permanent.
The accessory structure could?
Yes.
But an accessory structure is defined differently, right?
It's defined as not being permanent.
Right.
If you have a detached garage as an accessory structure, that could be there forever.
Paul just said, I think you can define that they can be shipping container
I was just suggesting
accessory
to make
structures.
the motion more specific, to allow 4 accessory structures on one lot, as long as those accessory structures are specifically shipping container type structures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That way, that would,
yes.
in the future, if somebody had some crazy idea of taking this variance of 4 accessory structures and they build 4 little shacks on
Right.
or something like
I
that.
have one more question. If 2 of these containers are put together and the other 2 together, can those 2 be counted as one? So
I don't think that could happen if you went and looked at this.
Yeah,
I don't think
Well, and this side is going to have one over
The two
there.
were going to be placed,
It's going to have one over
the
there.
2 new containers.
How short would you like me to walk?
These two
Just show, can you
look
just
almost
show
like
us
they
where
could
it
be
is?
one. We have to structure the
3
variance.
could be one and just
Oh, okay, I
Well,
have
yeah,
not seen
but we're
that.
not, that's just making
No, I
it so
passed
that
it
it's
down.
reasonable.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Can you pass that
Right
on?
there.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see
I
that.
submitted that with the building permit.
I just didn't
Yeah,
get
but
to
we
see
didn't
it.
get it in the package.
Yeah, we should have had a copy of that, John. When I went out, he gave me a copy of it. I would think. It was helpful.
Here and here.
Can I ask John a question and then the appellant?
Sure.
Is it unusual to have the appellant not be the property owner but be the renter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unusual?
Different people
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
represent it.
Okay.
Happens.
Well, I mean, it doesn't happen, I mean, it's happened in the past. but
Okay.
All we need is the owner's permission, and he says
Yeah.
yes.
Well, the owner's name is right on.
The application,
Yeah. So is the part of the property or this building that he's going to be using, he's going to break it into commercial storage units?
He already has.
He already has.
They're all fully rented.
Okay.
That's been the case for over a year.
Ed?
Do you hold a lease on the main building, the front building?
To be perfectly honest, we don't have a lease.
Okay.
And,
And that's what happened in the rear, there was no lease, so he could terminate your use?
well, even if he did have a lease, he has a legal right to kick us out if he wants, quite frankly, in Ohio.
Ed?
Okay.
Could we grant a temporary use?
That's what I was thinking also.
Let's make it more specific. Let's grant a
We've
variance.
got
Make it
added temporary
specific.
use to the bed and breakfast, so we got a temporary use for 3 years.
But that was different. That was a different thing. City council was considering the bed and breakfast thing. So it made sense to give them a temporary use until city council could
I
decide
think Paul's
what to do.
suggestion was the best, and the reason being, if they move out of there, they're taking them with them because they own them.
So let's do
Someone
Paul's
comes
stuff.
in there, they're
Yes.
allowed to build
Yes.
2. There's no question the 2 are permissible. So that's without question. And then if the person wanted to, at that point, they can bring in 2 more pods or containers, but that would be the only thing they would be allowed to do.
Yes, I think that makes sense.
Yes, I
So-
think that's the best thing to do. So how are we writing up this? You got it, Betty?
It'll just be
You
like
may
it
be seated
is.
unless there's any questions for the appellant.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we don't have anyone here to speak in opposition or in favor or in general commentary, so we close the discussion from the floor. Betty, you had a good
Well,
lead for
we're
the
just going to
motion.
do it as Paul said. I move that we grant a variance to the property at 100 Compass Road, Reuse Industries, from ACC 2303 to allow 4 accessory structures, which will be shipping containers only, where a maximum of 2 accessory structures are allowed.
2 additional? Or,
The 2 additional will be shipping containers.
yeah.
The other 2 can
Okay,
be whatever.
all right.
because
Well,
they're
she said
permitted.
4 altogether.
4 altogether.
Yeah.
Let Paul fix
Do we
it.
have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, let's go through the findings. Exceptional circumstances.
I think in this case, we could say that the nature of this business is not like most other businesses. It is not a for-profit business in the same way that other businesses are. And their landlord has reduced their storage space, their business has increased, and I think that this is the kind of business that many, many
Are we
residents...
talking with respect to the property or the business now?
Oh, I guess I'm talking about the business, which is on the property. So as long as this business...
What is the exception with respect to the property?
I'm talking about the business that is on the property, which makes it exceptional.
For time being.
For the time being, yes. People in Athens need this kind of service.
Any other discussion? Practical difficulty and undue hardship.
I think you need to read the rest of that.
Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, the literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of the public purposes.
Okay, so we would be creating the hardship.
Not granting a variance to any case will
Well,
provide a hardship.
You have to decide what the hardship is the hardship sufficient to warrant creating the hardship?
Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. New to you is a block away.
Mm-hmm. They haven't asked us for containers.
They haven't asked, yes, no, but now they may. Minimum variance. Is this the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Absence of detriment. The authorization of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest.
No, I think you said that safety-wise, there's still plenty of room to get vehicles in there if that was necessary, and the property owner and the adjacent property DC or renter had no problem with this.
And not of a general nature.
No.
No.
It kind of is. It's becoming one.
Becoming one. Okay, all in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. All opposed? So you have the variance 4-1.
Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
I always think those containers, they're supposed to be
Anything else we need to do?
in circulation.
Yeah, we need to.
You don't want to transit. Not a lot of them, just sit. Some people.
Deposition of the minutes from October 13, 2015. Did you all read the minutes? I read it. Seemed to be okay. You had. Did you get that result?
Yes.
Okay. All. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Hi.
5-0. And we don't move to adjourn. We just adjourn.
I just want to, I appreciate the chair's provision of the proper wording for our variances and our dual uses.
Thank you, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Well, see you all next month. I guess we do have a case next month, so at least one.
The proper piece.
Let Joan keep hers.